everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Executive Exchange with Daron Mann. My guest in studio today, the Executive Mayor of the Kouga District Municipality. His name is Bornman. Thanks very much for making time available and joining us today on the Executive Exchange. Just to start with, tell us which areas encompass the Kouga District Municipality. Not everyone will be aware. How far does your kingdom extend?
Yes, it actually we're 9 towns in the municipality, which the main ones are Jeffreys Bay, Humansdorp and St. Francis Bay. But then there's 6 others, the smaller ones, Oyster Bay, Cape St. Francis, and then the Gamtus Valley, which is Hankie Potensi, Lurie and Thornhill, which makes up the entirety of the 9 towns.
It sounds very big. Rough idea in terms of square kilometers?
Yeah, well, from the very south of it to up into the north into the Baviaans Kloof is around 300 kilometers. It's quite big and well, round trip. You can go. It's just beautiful. It changes from the beautiful ocean on the coast and into the Baviaans Kloof, which is obviously also one of my favorite parts there, and really brilliant.
That's a lovely part of the world.
Yeah.
And your headquarters, where are you situated?
In Jeffreys Bay. In Jeffreys Bay, our head office is in Jeffreys Bay. My office is there, and the main part of the municipality is there. Yes.
You personally took over as the Executive Mayor at the end of June, beginning of July 2023. Looking back, highlights of your 6 or 7 months in charge so far?
Yeah, the biggest highlight is probably, well, I wouldn't say the drought, because we had nothing to do with the drought or with the drought being ended. I mean, but the fact that the work that we were able to do during the drought and now being more water independent is for me a massive highlight. So before or during the drought, we're about 70% dependent on our dams and only 30% on our own groundwater and surface water, which we've now turned around during the drought. We've made massive strides in developing boreholes, developing our fountain water and so forth, where we are now at about 65% dependent on our own sources and only 35% on the dam water, which is really encouraging for us. And we've been able to erect a plant that purifies borehole water. 4 of those, the one in Jeffreys Bay, the biggest in Africa of its kind. So it's really amazing to have these package plants up and running, and they're producing clean water to our residents, and it's really a massive highlight for me.
Biggest challenge so far?
Yeah, there
are more on the way.
This feels like every day there's new challenges, but it's definitely our road infrastructure. Our road infrastructure is in a critical state. It was built 40 years ago, and since then never properly upgraded. We've patched here and there, but it needs a total redo, and it's about 280 kilometers of tar road in the municipality, and 410 kilometers road infrastructure. 280 of that is tar roads, and it is all, majority of it is well past its expiry date. So that's a massive issue, and the economic benefits of having proper road infrastructure in your municipality is so critical, and that's why it's such a big crisis for me and such a big drive for me to get it fixed.
Now, in many ways, you're a victim of your own success, because St. Francis Bay certainly is one of the most sought-after destinations in South Africa. Over the years, the past 20, 30, 40, even 15 or 10, there's been a massive increase in the population. Infrastructure hasn't kept pace with that. That's what's created a lot of the challenges you face in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely a good and a bad thing, but the growth is, we are the fastest growing municipality in the Eastern Cape, and as you said, one of the fastest in the country, and people are flocking to the coast, I think, for a few reasons, and one is because it is really, we do have stable government, but it's a beautiful place to live. It's still relatively cheap. People sort of up the coast towards the Western Cape is sort of expanded so much that people are now looking for the next place that's beautiful and accessible and safe and still reasonably cheap. along the coast that they can come and work and live and play in our area, and that's such a privilege. So but our infrastructure is taking strain, and that's why we have to focus now. And I'll talk about our main focus areas, but it's critical that we do keep up with that growth, specifically from an electricity point of view, from a waste point of view, and wastewater point of view, as well as obviously water and road infrastructure is critical to maintain. We just in the last, just for interest sake, in the last 6 months since I've been the mayor, there's been 8, and it's nothing to do with me, it's just to say the growth of our town. There's been 800 new building plans approved in our municipality just in the last 6 months. It's 800, not people moving here and renting, it's new buildings being erected for residential, when residential properties being erected. It's really incredible, the growth.
We're going to get to your plans for 2024 since we are at the start of a new year. But just briefly, having touched on the road situation, anecdotal evidence also indicates that's a big frustration for visitors and residents when they come to the St. Francis Bay area, certainly. Are there plans in the pipeline to deal with that? Have you got a solution?
Yes, yes. It's not a quick fix, unfortunately, but there are. We've had. There's a few things that needs to be we need to get in place. One is just fixing normal potholes in a proper way, and we've got some new products that we're using now in terms of asphalt that we're getting in and fixing potholes with. It's much stronger, much more reliable. It's a lot more effective than what we used to use, which is very encouraging, and the results that we're seeing. But then the complete redo of roads is obviously the big thing, and that costs a lot of money. So council has approved 2-3 months ago. We've approved that we can go out as a municipality, go out on a loan for loan funding, and we're looking at between 200 and 300 million rand that we need to get to, and that'll cover us. That'll get us just over halfway of the roads that we actually need to reseal, and that'll obviously make a massive impact, and that'll get us ahead of the curve. That'll make us just the other normal maintenance will then catch up.
You'll have broken the back of it.
Yes. But if we don't do that, we'll never catch up. It's just too far gone, the roads. So we've had some really positive discussions with financial institutions, some banks, Development Bank of South Africa, and even some French sovereign funds that's looking at doing loan funding, loaning us money, and we're currently in the negotiation process in terms of making sure that we don't pay off roads while we need to start upgrading again in 10 years' time or so. But so just being responsible with the loan, because it's not a little bit of money, so we need to be responsible with what we have as well. But it's good. We're making good progress as far as that's concerned.
Any ideas of timeframes? You say you're still in negotiations, but
I
think that's the first question that people watching would like to know.
I want to. Our financial year goes from July to June, so I would like to start the new financial year in July. Where I would like to start off with that money as part of the budget. And then we've already got tenders in process in place, and we'll have to probably bring in 1 or 2 more construction companies. But I'm really pushing very hard that we can start the new financial year off with the money in the bank.
Since we're on the subject, what other projects have been approved or are in negotiation at the moment for 2024? Other infrastructural issues, there'll be sewage, there'll be water. I'm trying to think of a few more, but
there are a few in this current financial year. We'll get to the new financial year, but now currently we just approved yesterday, in fact, in council, we approved another 10 million rand of our own funding to go into roads, because we can't just say, we're hoping for money, so we'll do nothing. We have to, with our own money as well, keep up with what or do what we can with what we have. So we've pushed another 10 million rand into that, and they're starting with that shortly, and fixing and resealing a few more of those roads. Then there's also money going on into a lot of money going into sewage infrastructure and so on. That's really critical. And there's a few things that's on the critical list we have to get to.
I'm going to welcome back to the Executive Exchange with Daron Mann and with our guest, the Executive Mayor of the Kouga District Municipality, Mayor Bornman. Before the break, we were talking about some of the infrastructural challenges that you're facing in your municipality. You were talking about roads and how you're going to deal with that particular issue. We mentioned sanitation, we mentioned water. There's also a little matter of electricity. How are things going with Eskom at the moment?
Yeah, Eskom is a difficult one. Maybe I should just tell you some facts of what happened. So during December, we had the privilege of not having load shedding, which was wonderful. And we were obviously preparing for lots of Eskom load shedding. And during December, we had 0 pipe breaks in terms of our sewage infrastructure, 0 pipe breaks. Here and there, a water break just because of old pipe infrastructure, which we're dealing with. But as far as sewage is concerned, 0. The minute that load shedding started again, the next day, we had 2 pipe breaks on some of our main sewage lines because pumps stop working, and then it takes a minute for generators to kick in. Water comes down with force again into pipes, and it just pops. And so the effect that, and then sewage runs towards the ocean.
How
which
do
we
you
do
counter
not
that?
want.
I've spoken to so many different municipalities. I know in Ganubi and Nahoon, as we speak, that they're wrestling with that exact problem. How do you deal with that?
It is incredibly difficult. So there's a balance between, we need to make sure that our infrastructure is at a high standard, obviously, and we have to, and that's why we are spending quite a bit of money specifically on sewage in upgrading our pipelines, upgrading pumps. We've been upgrading pumps over the last few years already, but making sure that our lines are not those old asbestos lines anymore. We're replacing them with proper pipe infrastructure, but then also making sure that we get some of those infrastructure off of Eskom. And we're busy with that implementation as well. So in terms of our electricity plan moving forward, it's critical that we not only look internally and get our own infrastructure off the grid and reliable on our own sources, from whether it's generators, which is not ideal, but whether it's solar plant with battery storage or whatever for ourselves, but then also for the greater community because of the economic benefits of having constant power. And we are now looking into building a 20 megawatt solar plant for ourselves. There's a few guys that want to build some wind turbines in our municipality that want to sell the electricity to us. So we're looking at all of those opportunities, and that's really necessary, critically necessary. Just on our own infrastructure, over the last year, our diesel bill has doubled, mainly because of load shedding. It used to be around 18-19 million rand worth of diesel a year that we spent on diesel. It's now almost 40 million rand that we're spending in this financial year just on diesel. And it's mainly generators that we have to run, mainly all of those things that's just additional because of load shedding. It's incredible and it's unsustainable. We just can't keep going. That's why we have to look at our own sources of electricity. It's really critical, but it's also very expensive. And again, those partnerships and tenders and so on, we're in quite an advanced stage of getting that fixed.
Okay, we're touching on the economy, so let's expand a little on that. Tourism is a big money spinner for your municipality.
Yes.
What economic opportunities are you working on for residents in the new year, Hatting?
Yeah, so we had a very interesting conversation with the CEO of SA Tourism and he used to be the CEO of Westgrow as well in the Western Cape, and they did some studies, and according to him, it's just an interesting story for me. According to him, there's, in terms of places, there's a few places in South Africa that's recognized globally in terms of place brands, and Cape Town is obviously the first one that comes to mind. Kruger National Park is another one that comes to mind. And then if you know anything about wine, everybody in the world knows Stellenbosch and the winelands. And then according to him, Jeffreys Bay is number 4 on that list of globally known places. And just mainly because of the surfing history that we have and the beautiful...
Do you surf?
I do. I don't get enough time, but I do like to surf, yes. So we do have, obviously because of that, it's really a massive boost for our economy from a tourist point of view. But then there's St. Francis Bay, which is incredible in terms of lifestyle, in terms of everything that it gives in terms of we've got the beautiful Links, which is one of the top golf courses in the country. And then we've got the Baviaans Kloof and the Gamtus Valley. That's amazing tourist and adventure destinations. So for us, building a tourist strategy around bringing people, drawing people in with Jeffreys Bay as a name place that we recognized name that we have, but then also telling them and connecting, making those connections between, listen, look at the lifestyle we have in St. Francis, look at the beautiful adventures that we can have in the Gamtus Valley and the Baviaans Kloof. And making those connections is obviously critical for us in terms of tourism from an economic development point of view. And we've seen a massive amount of influx from foreign tourists as well. But then this last December, we had a really good December in terms of just locals coming to visit us, specifically in St. Francis as well. St. Francis was packed this December.
Always is. Outside of tourism, agriculture, commerce, any initiatives getting off the ground in the year?
Yes. So we with our solar plant that we're busy with, and we're looking at the area in and around Humansdorp to establish sort of an industrial hub from a renewable energy point of view, making sure that anything in the value chain of renewable energy, whether you're making frames of aluminium frames for solar panels, or whether you're storing batteries, or whatever is in that value chain, to create sort of a hub around that. And we're busy with EIAs and so on to get land approved, to make sure we do own some land there, and that we make sure that we get that ready, so that when investors come and they say, I want to erect some kind of plant, then we're able to build it there and develop there. So we're very open to any industry to come and develop in Humansdorp specifically. And then so that's sort of the renewable energy hub. But then from a agricultural point of view, it is a massive industry for us, and there's a lot of work created through big companies that's in our area. From dairy industry is obviously big. The citrus industry is very big. And then also the chocolate industry is really big in St. Francis area with the harbour there. And whatever we can do to make sure that is able to grow, and we want to just make it as easy as possible for them to grow and develop and have obviously a sustainable business. Very interesting. Just sorry, I'm ranting on without even getting questions. But I'm very passionate about this. It's interesting, when we just first said that we want to start, we're thinking of trying to create our own energy resources. Companies from all over the Eastern Cape, from Queenstown and from Graafrenet and all over, phoned us and said, listen, are you serious about this? Because if you are, we'll move with our whole company, we'll build it 4 times bigger in your municipality if you're serious in doing this. So there's a massive, I realized the massive pressure that big businesses are under because of load shedding. And if we can alleviate that, it'll make such a massive difference in our economic development. And obviously, at the end of the day, people getting jobs and being able to put food on the family, being able to for their families to thrive and have a good life.
Absolutely. If I might change tack, one of the stories that made headlines when I think of the Kouga District Municipality from last year, it was termed a land invasion. Mm-hmm. I understand the people who moved in to the land moved onto private land. It wasn't municipal land, but it was in the Papiesfontein area, as I recall. And I understand that following that land invasion, the leader of the group, Mr. Wayne Peterson, is now a councillor in your council. And I find that particularly unusual. Can you talk us through what happened there? How have things turned out? Are people still on this land? Are they being moved off? Are they staying there? Just a little background on that story.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yes, there's been a land invasion there. It's unfortunately not the municipality's property. That's on the Department of Human Settlements property. It's a beautiful biodiverse zone. There's lots of plants and biodiversity that you only find. There's only one other area in the country that you have this, the Renosterveld, the flowers and the growth. And because of because of that, it becomes very sensitive now, and there's a lot of people very interested in it.
Welcome back to the Executive Exchange. Before the ad break, Hatting, you were talking us through what happened with the land invasion at Papiesfontein in the Kouga District Municipality last year, and that Mr. Wayne Peterson, who was leader of the group that moved into the land, is now a councillor in your council. Just expand a little on what happened there and where the situation is at the moment.
Yes, so it's interesting that it was a land invasion because it was private property that they weren't the owners of the property, and they invaded there and built some structures on the property. As far as I know, they don't live there. They have houses, homes. The group have houses in Humansdorp, and but the leader of the group has now become an ANC councillor in our municipality as part of the opposition, and it's interesting.
Does that make it easier or more difficult to resolve the problem?
Because the municipality is not really involved in the process, they've erected buildings on this property, which is illegal. They don't comply with our national building regulations, and because of that, we have now taken the Department of Human Settlements to court because they're allowing illegal structures on their land.
If I could just make sure I understand fully. Okay, so it's not your land. That means you can't evict the people who've moved into the land because you don't own the land.
Yes.
They've built structures, illegal structures on the land.
Yes.
That contravenes your bylaws.
National building regulations.
Okay.
Yes. So because they're contravening national building regulations, we can then take them to court. But we can't take the person building the structure to court. We have to take the landowner to court.
Oh.
So therefore, we're taking Human Settlements is now unfortunately the ones that we have to deal with. They haven't taken a decision what they want to do with the illegal occupants. They have not decided. We're obviously on their case, and they're not sure whether they'll evict or not. And obviously, unfortunately, politics plays a role, and there's a lot of dynamics behind the scenes. I'm assuming because of the fact that it's now taken more than a year, there are other things at play that I can only assume about.
So as we speak, those who've invaded the land are still there. You say they're not living on the land, but then they're not invaders if they're not living on the land.
Yeah, they've built structures there. They go there very often. They have ceremonies there. They've taken away a lot of the bush and the indigenous vegetation there, and so forth. So and the fact that they've built structures there and do go there and do certain things on the ceremonies and so forth in these structures and on the property is then obviously illegal.
And in council, I'm just interested, on a one-to-one situation, does it cause any tension? If you and Mr. Councillor Peterson see each other in the passage, do you look the other way, or do you stop and have a chat?
No, we're not mad at each other, but I do frown upon the fact that he encourages us to do the right thing, yet there's obvious things that he's contravening as well, as far as the laws of the country is concerned. So that does make it very difficult, obviously, for me to really understand his motives, and it becomes very difficult to deal with that, or it becomes difficult to know what his motives are, and also then obviously trust issues and other matters if this is the way that he deals with things that he believes.
It's a human reaction. It's understandable.
Yeah.
Customer service. I was speaking to your chief of staff when we were setting up the interview, and he said, make sure you ask the mayor about how we're going to streamline our customer service. So, Mr. Mayor, how are you going to streamline your customer service?
Yeah, I think when I just started, I think that was, it is still one of the things that we're terribly bad at in terms of reacting to and being proactive, but also being more more on top of our game when we deal with our residents, and not dealing with residents in the way of thinking, which I think is in many municipalities the way of thinking, it's just our residents, they'll pay their rates anyway, we can just deal with them however we want. I don't want that. I want us to think about our residents as customers, as paying customers, getting a specific service and expecting a proper service as any business would handle their customers. And I want our staff and our workers to think about that when they do this. So whether they're picking up litter, fixing potholes, fixing street lights or working in an office, attending to people directly on a one-to-one basis. They have to speak to them professionally. We have to pick up phones. We have to just be more responsive to our residents. And I've launched a program called First Thursdays. So every first Thursday of the month, starting now again this year in March, we have an open door policy. Anybody from the public can walk into any office. And we, at this stage, we're actually going out and we'll be in March, we'll sit in front of the municipality, all our departments, directors, the municipal manager, myself, all my mayoral committee members, all of us will be there and we'll attend to anybody with any question right there on the spot, whether it's a housing problem, a town planning, an account issue, whatever issue it is.
You're putting yourself under pressure.
Yes. So we have to be more responsive. So we've done that successfully 4 times last year, at the end of last year, for 4 months in a row, and starting now in March, we'll start to the next round of that. We'll start in Jeffreys Bay. Anybody can just walk in and come speak to us complain to us about anything.
I think it's a super initiative. What's the reaction been like so far? Good?
It's been really good. It's been really good. We've been able to resolve some things right there on the spot because all the departments, oftentimes there's issues that residents have, but they have to go here to this department, then they get sent to another department, then they have to run there again, and then so now everybody's on the same place at the same time, right there, and we can resolve all of that at the same time. So
you're accessible. I think that's a very, very important message.
Yeah, it's critical that we do that, and we're not getting it right all the time yet, but we're working hard towards that. And there's some account issues now currently that we're struggling with in wanting to just make our accounts billing system more effective, and we've employed meter readers that's working on an online electronic system now, and that makes things easier and more accurate, and so on. So there's quite a few things from a customer care point of view that we want to make sure that we're getting right.
If you could speak to your residents and ratepayers directly, and if there was one particular message or point that you could tell them about the municipality that you think they maybe don't understand or fully grasp, what would it be?
I think residents don't necessarily always understand the time things takes, and I think that I find it frustrating being in the municipality. I find it extremely frustrating that things takes so long to get done. But I want residents to know that we are pushing as hard as we possibly can against all the red tape that we have from a procurement point of view, from just normal getting people to do their job, their day-to-day job, and not sitting under a tree somewhere while they should be fixing potholes and so forth. Just from the lowest level of workers up to the senior management, and I think one of my main challenges, and I think I told you this off air, was that when I just started, I thought it would be making these big decisions would be the biggest, toughest thing, but that's not the toughest thing. For me, it's getting the people to move in the same direction and making sure all of us have the same focus and getting there and then filtering that down to the lowest level of our workers, and that's a big challenge. And it takes a lot of time, and I really want to encourage residents to please be patient with us, but please know that we are working extremely hard to make sure that we don't fix the pothole now, but we fix the roads in future. So we're thinking long term, we're thinking bigger strategy, and I know small things are frustrating, but please bear with us.
We're going to wrap it up there. Our guest in studio, the Executive Exchange for this month, from the Kouga District Municipality, Executive Mayor Daron Mann. All the best going forward. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you very much, Daron. I appreciate it.
Till next time, take care.